like, how would you approach programming for, I guess, if we speak specifically CrossFit athletes who've been out of the gym for 2 months, probably no real loading. And then these guys, CrossFitters, they want to get back in the gym, throw a barbell around. How would you program for that, and how would you manage their expectations?
Well, TJ, what do you think? You are in the mix. You are the only current gym owner, so you're probably already dealing with this, right?
Yeah, so that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because we have a pretty good population of people that do have barbells and do have things, but then we also obviously have another population of people that don't have anything. So it's going to be tough from a coaching perspective of like how to refrain a lot of the class to stay back, and then obviously to push the opposite side of the class. But that's gonna be tough. We have a lot of our members are hoping for DT because all they want to do is get a barbell in their hands.
Yeah, they miss it, man. It's
right
therapy for sure.
So we've been kind of talking through that from a volume perspective.
They haven't been under a bar for months for the most part. And as coaches and gym owners, we have to responsibly get them to where they want to be, but maybe they're not, quite there yet. What do you think, Zach?
Well, I think you have a couple different options, and I mean, the majority of my experience comes from CrossFit, so I'll speak to that. I think this is I've always been a huge proponent of communication of programming to your membership. So whatever you do plan on throwing at them, try and not involve them in the decision-making process, but communicate to them what the purpose and what your reasoning is behind, to give yourself a little bit more, obviously build your credibility and to build the trust. So, but if I were in this position, what I would do is I would probably take the time to explain to people hey, the majority of our membership is coming back without a lot of exposure to or regular exposure to high intensity functional movements. They have been very limited in the type of movement patterns they've been able to do or the type of modality they've been able to train, mainly probably running and body weight or monostructural and body weight. And the intensity has probably been relatively low because the gym atmosphere, the community atmosphere, having a coach with loud music and blah, 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 that usually breeds it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the next, and this is where you're going to have to choose. Like TJ, you could either do a 4 or 6 and 8 week period, where we're going to do a base rebuild and testing phase, because when you do testing, you want to keep volume relatively low. So volume is probably the first major factor, major variable that contributes to overuse training or overtraining, if we want to call it that, rhabdo and stuff like that. Then we can get into the eccentric loading and all that other crap that we talk about, but it's really exposure, frequency of exposure, intensity, and volume. So I would say hey, we're going to stick with the primal movements or the base movements, barbell loading, and we're going to do a back squat, a deadlift, a press. We're going to do basic clean and jerk. We're going to do snatches. And the majority of the training sessions are going to focus on rebuilding those techniques, rebuilding to a training maximum using singles, doubles, or maybe triples, depending on the lift, right? And then we're going to finish with a gymnastics monostructural weightlifting couplet or triplet afterwards for conditioning. I think now is actually the prime time to expose athletes to 2 independent sessions per or training exposures per session. I know at the level 1, we talk a lot about hey, if you're doing Fran that day, that's the only thing that you should do, right? But that's because we're trying to maximize intensity, and we're also trying to maximize good movement. Here, we're trying to reintegrate the base movement patterns and build exposure. So I think something hey, we're going to do, 3 working sets of 5 back squats at 70 to 80%. And then we're going to go for a 5 RM or a training 5 RM on the 4th set. And then afterwards, we're going to do some row intervals with some push-ups and stuff. Keep it simple, but keep it foundational.
Yeah, that's
a good point.
We've talked about that a lot. It's just keeping it simple, obviously keeping the volume down, but like you said, this is a really good opportunity to start developing that foundation again. And just, obviously you start ramping them back up, start them kind of at the base level and then progress. The tough part becomes that Murph's coming around the corner, right? Like the last thing you want to do is, start with minimal volume and then, towards the end of May, they're doing 100 pull-ups, which is a scary Rabideau thing in itself. But
Murph is one of those things where it's like, I see lots of people doing Murph prep and I'm like, I think you should be doing Murph prep throughout the year. But Murph is one of those things where it's not, people want to suffer. It's almost like they're begging for Rabideau because it's like the sacrificial workout and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, You know what? Mike wouldn't have wanted that. Mike wouldn't have wanted you to injure yourself doing a workout in his honor. That's not the purpose.
Right. The purpose is to suffer through something and put in some real work, but it doesn't have to come at the expense of your health.
Right. And to be honest, I think a lot of people have lost sight of the spirit of Murph. I think I have a unique perspective from considering my background specifically on Murph and the amount of volume. The daunting aspect of Murph is the volume, and if you've done Murph 3, 4, 5 times, you kind of lose it's no longer daunting.
It's a workout.
I'm not saying it's just a workout. I'm not saying you need to increase the volume of the workout by any means, but remember that the purpose is to do something that you're a little bit afraid of because it seems like it's a never-ending task. And if you haven't been training CrossFit, like you should be looking at Murph like, oh, this is daunting. Even scaled for a lot of people, it should be daunting. So as long as you're going in with that intent, I think the spirit of Murph is maintained, and that's, I think, the most important part.
Absolutely. It's find a challenge that's applicable to you and your fitness. Right.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit outside of your zone.
Right.
But you don't have to swing for the fences on day one.
I think, James, just to swing back kind of to your question though, I think because of the way we're going to have to operate, I think, with built-in cleaning time, getting people out of here, I think by having the classes shaped the way they will be, I think the volume will be much lower anyway, just as a byproduct of how we're going to have to structure everything.
Yeah. Especially as you guys get used to those new procedures and new time flows and all that stuff. Yeah.
That's a good point. Goes with the overall theme of starting a lot more conservatively, both in programming, both in class offering sizes, and just get a baseline for everything first. And then it's easier to incrementally step up intensity or step up class load, those kinds of things.
The one good thing that I see of this is that a lot of, in my experience, from seminar staff to talking to other affiliate owners, watching classes, the consulting and all this stuff, I've noticed that a lot of trainers are coaching outside, above and beyond the scope of their ability to actually coach. So I'm actually, I'll just say it this way. I'm actually looking forward to hearing that people are getting better instruction because the ratios are going to be kept a little bit more in line with the skill level of the coach. Like if you got your level 1 last month and you're running a class of 20 people through back squats, you're not coaching 20 people. You can't see that.
You're watching
like
20 people.
If you're 2 months, exactly. If you're 2 months, 6 months, heck, even some people that have had their level 1 for a year, 10 people is their limit for actual coaching. So I'm hoping that if these affiliates, if these gyms have taken down the ratios to a better or more favorable coach to athlete ratio, they can spend more time improving people's mechanics, delivering cues, having athletes slow their movement down, doing tempo lifts and stuff like that, so that they can actually get better quality training. And as a result, they can see how effective it is without the increased volume.
Yeah. That's an awesome point.
That is a great point.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, which is kind of parallel to, I think, our experience with gym owners and everyone kind of being in the same space or same status, I guess. A lot of your members, for the most part, your general population have, their fitness level. You can kind of assume now it's at a certain level, and you can, I think, easily, not easily, but more readily group coach them, or even have a weekly coaching video kind of announcing like what the programming intention is for the week, because now we know kind of more or less where everyone's baseline is, because everyone's been quarantined for 2 months. and you can incrementally step them up in a bigger group, bigger cohort, at least kind of virtually get that message across. Whereas, if we were looking back 6 months ago, everyone had different fitness levels because, someone would be 2 months into CrossFit, someone would be, 3 years into CrossFit. But now we can make some of those assumptions, I think, with better certainty that, these guys haven't been at the gym for a while and their fitness is at a certain level. So we can kind of group step them up into, what the overall goal is. I think that's also a good opportunity. Just coach.
I think people, let's think about it this way from if we're not talking about the physiology of the athlete, like what they've been missing, what have they been missing as a customer? Like the interaction with the coach, the relationship. Mm-hmm. I mean, the face-to-face, their time in the gym, right? The atmosphere. So I think this is coming back and leveraging the programming to allow for what's the word when you reinforce. To reinforce the relationship. Like TJ, have you been talking to your members throughout this entire time, even though they haven't been coming into the gym?
Absolutely.
And I think any solid gym owner, affiliate owner, gym owner, studio owner has been doing the same thing. But these people, do you think that replaces or satiates the craving for human interaction from the lockdown? It depends, I think, on the area, but probably not, right? So I think keeping the volume low, rest pretty controlled in between the sets. I think and having the workouts shorter in duration just because the volume is relatively low. I think we're going to see a lot of quality member, like high quality member experience come from this entire situation if a coach and a gym owner is willing to play it out right. And I think like TJ, you coach classes, but you also own the gym, right?
Right.
And so like your role as the owner of the gym, who's your head coach? It's someone else, right? You pay someone else to be the head coach.
Yeah.
Like the gym owner and the head coach should be talking to the rest of the coaching staff. Like, hey, this is why, this is on the back end. Like we don't need to tell our customers this or our membership base, but like we really need to leverage this ability to reinforce the relationships that we've been striving so hard to maintain. And this is why the programming is looking like this from a business standpoint, regardless of the physiological adaptations that they're going to get from this and the prudence of, keeping them safe and avoiding rhabdo and overuse and all that stuff. So I just think there's a whole bunch of different ways to attack it, and you need to view it from that 360.
Absolutely. That's a massive point that effectively this is a good opportunity to hit the reset button and really knock it out of the park by bringing in those relationships and leveraging those smaller class sizes.
Yeah. And actually, TJ, do you have new members coming in? Were you able to sign people? I knew some gyms said that they were able to sign people up during this whole thing.
Yeah, I've read that. We haven't signed anyone up. We also haven't really, I don't know, probably put it out there to try to sign. Yeah, try to sign anyone up. Our main focus was retention, right? Staying on top of our members and making sure that they felt that accountability still. Because we are a coaching business, we're not an equipment business. So we wanted to show them that it's all about the coaching and accountability.
That's awesome. And I think this, like, as new people start to filter in, because can we safely assume, like, James, TJ, like, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think as gyms start to reopen, they are more or less likely to get new members than before?
So that's a tough question, because it's just like, we put out that survey, right? And it's like, it was almost kind of like a 50-50 split that, some people are ready to get back immediately and some are like, let's wait it out. So I feel like that's going to be kind of the same approach from new prospects, is like, they might want to wait it out before they jump back into a gym membership, or they're ready to go. So it's like, we could see an influx, and it'd be awesome. All these people that are excited to get back in here, kind of like a January 1st type feeling, or it could be like, all right, let's see what we can do to make them feel safe.
Well, that's the thing. We could also utilize the fact that our programming is downshifting as a way to market to people that may have been either intimidated or they need an excuse to come in the first place. Like, hey, our gym for the next 2 to 3 months, we're starting with a base program. If you have ever thought about starting, this is the perfect time because you can come into classes or come into our program, and it's exactly where you would need to start.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Write that one down. That's a massive opportunity to capitalize on.
Yeah, we talked about kind of like our whole shift in marketing is like we are preventative healthcare. Like that's how we have to shape it. And so like people are like, we need to get in there. Like it's not scary anymore. This functional fitness is going to help us tremendously stay healthy. And like the people that are asymptomatic are the ones that are, doing a lot of this functional training, eating well and doing all these things. Like let's change our life. And
I think the one thing here is there's going to be an inflection point where, like, initially, people are really tentative about coming back into the gym, but once there's kind of this sense of security that it's not as much of a threat to go to the gym, that the floodgates are going to open up. People are going to come running back in because they need it. They're just, a lot of them might be just waiting in the background, just kind of, is it socially, is the population, is the gym ready to support a safe environment, just perception wise?
Do you think the perception is a societal, like a stigma, or do you think it's a legit health fear?
I think it's a stigma. I
agree.
I mean, this goes back to
the majority
controlling
of it is.
People and earning their trust and whatnot. I mean, you just have to market. You have to market it. It's a societal thing, it's, for better or worse, we are all groups of people that are influenced by, the same 10 or 15 factors. And if we can convey those factors effectively, then people will trust us. And then and then now we're back to, a good place where people are confident coming back in.
Yep. Agree.
Damn, we can go all day on this. This is a fun conversation. Well, cool. I think, some main takeaways is really to start conservatively and get back to the art of coaching.
Yes.
Coaching individuals, coaching small group classes, and then understanding how to communicate your gym's coaching, your business coaching as a service, and what positives that can bring into either your members' lives or even just the general population, so they have confidence that they're coming in at the right time, at the right place. Man, we need to write a blog post on this or something.
This is good stuff. Definitely.
I'll tap both of you guys, send you guys some homework. So you can get some feedback on that.
Do it.
Awesome, guys. We will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Yes.
Later, guys.